What's up, everybody? This is your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. We are doing a Freedom Friday, and boy, is this Freedom Friday going to be juicy. Okay, so we've got a couple great topics here today, but they all kind of build into the standout mode, right? I'm calling it standout mode, and I'm always talking about Classy Climb because it is a part of you climbing. Life isn't just for you to coast, but for you to climb and have some enjoyment. So today, I just want to share with you a couple articles I was paying attention to that kind of freaked me out, but reaffirmed what I thought. So today we're going to talk about 5 good things. So, but let me see if I can pull it up and I can share the screen with you guys. The key here is there's an article from Huffington Post. If I can't share it, I'll just tell you what it says. And the title of the article, I kid you not, is even broker than you thought, right? And I think it comes up Huffington Post, income inequality. But essentially, the biggest notes I took from it, I mean, it blew my mind. The biggest notes I took from it was one is, let's say you make $90,000 a year, $90,000 to $99,000. You are in 2% of America. There's only 3 million of you making that right now, right? And reporting it. And this is based off Social Security saying 153 million Americans that are working. Okay, so let's say you say, Erica, but I make 100,000, and me and my wife together make anywhere from 100,000 to more, right? So 100,000 to 250,000 is a 7%, right? You're thinking that's great, but 7% of all Americans, that's like 10 million Americans, and a lot of those people are probably in New York, California, big cities, and their couples, right? And we know, depending on what city you're in, doesn't mean that fills that void, right? If you make 250,000 a year and over, that's 1% of that part of America, and that's 1.5 million Americans. Now, but here's something that really caught my eye. If you make 30,000 a year, you make more than 53% of Americans. Is that crazy? 30,000 a year. And so first my thoughts were, well, people making 10,000 or 20,000 a year, they must be stay-at-home moms or the part-time job. Maybe they're college students. Maybe they're the elderly, which all these things could be true, but just think about it. If you make $30,000 a year, which make your judgments on it, you make more than 53% of Americans, and you are about 18 million of the population. That's just at 30,000. We're not even going 40, 50,000. Those are even smaller segments, but I just thought that blew my mind for a minute, and I had to share that. So definitely go check that out. Hey, Renal Jean. Hey, Eliminate Contact. Hello, Connect. Hello. So the first one I want to talk about was something I caught my eye this week. Was a guy, and he's a black guy, used to play football in college. I think he did like 1 year of a training camp in the NFL. He's in China, and he was teaching English. So he's 30 years old. It's not too late to go over there and do that and kind of switch your life up. Basically, he got into a bar fight, and in a moment of defending himself, he's been in jail in China for 10 months. Now, I haven't heard about this on the national news. I'm like, what's going on? Why hasn't this been talked about? But I'm pretty sure there's Americans all over the place who have been in jail in different countries for months on end. The key here is his family does not even have money to go visit him in China. They haven't even gone. Like, if I got kidnapped or I went to jail in Korea, my mom would be on a plane on Thursday, you know what I mean, of next week with her ticket and her passport to Korea. Maybe because she's military, but in the end of the day, like, she would come see me. And to think this family's son has been, and they're from Detroit, so I'm not gonna stereotype, but I'm assuming they don't have a lot of money. But there's a lot of people in Detroit with money, so let's not do that. I'm gonna assume 10 months in jail. I need to see you. I need to see that you're alive. I need to see that you're okay. I need to see that you're not emaciated. Like, to me, that freaks me out that this man has been in China in jail for 10 months. Who knows where his stuff at was in his room? Who knows where his passport stuff is? And he's in jail. And they have a GoFundMe account. And the reason that bothered me so is the fact that in 10 months, your family couldn't get it together to at least go fly and see what's up with you. Your family couldn't repair their credit if they're working jobs and get a $20,000 credit card or a $10,000 credit card and go fly out to you. In 10 months, your family should have been able to put $100 away a month, so that in 10 months they had $1,000 to pay for a ticket to China. I mean, it's that serious. Where 10 months, I mean, even another example was the young man in New York who, I mean, he eventually took his life, so I'm trying to be graceful. But his bail was like 10 grand. Well, everyone knows when you go to Bill's mom, and you have to have like, 10% of that. So $1,000 in 3 years, his mother couldn't come up with $1,000. Honey, you need to get out of New York because your family is absolutely struggling. And the sad part is his mother did die maybe a year and a half after he killed himself. And I would say from a broken heart. She ended up having a heart attack. But what people don't understand is children cost a lot more than you think. And the reason I gave y'all those numbers in the beginning to talk about, people making $90,000 a year, it's like 3 million people out of all of Americans, is because when you see things like Lisa Phillips just did a thing on her show that her nephew got arrested and the fine was $250 and her sister couldn't have paid it. Now, here's Lisa Phillips, famous woman. She has 4 rental properties. She's been talking about buying real estate for years, and her own sister is not listening. One, do her own thing. Love that. But she didn't even have $250 to get her own son out of jail, and she's in a whole nother state. So not only did that mean Lisa Phillips had to send the money across state lines to get the boy out, that also saved him from having something on his record. $250. And I tell people this not to kind of make anybody feel bad, but you got to realize the average American can't come up with $400 in an emergency or $1,000. They even show once you get to $1,000, $2,000, they have to start selling things. You guys know I had my surgery a couple weeks ago. I know I keep talking about it, but it's like, it just is an appointment part of my life. I literally went there and part of my copay was like, yo, you got to pay $2,000. I had to go swip out my debit card at the before I could go back to get the surgery. This is like 6 in the morning before we do prep, before they prep me. Imagine how many people would have been like, I might not be able to have surgery today. Do you know what I'm saying? That just made me so sad that there might be several people in America who couldn't afford to have a payment plan or couldn't afford to swipe their debit card. So I did a combination of debit card and my credit card. But I just, money is important. And for you to act like it's not, or I'm feel good, I'm coasting, me and my wife are good, there's no rush on it. Like, there is a rush because you only have so much time. And people will have kids who are 8 and 9 and 10 and go, someday I'm gonna take them to Disneyland. Honey, by the time you get your someday, your kid's gonna be 12 and 13 and probably won't want to go anymore. You missed that window of opportunity. And it's just so important. Let me see here. Alvin, what did I miss? You missed it all, Alvin. Keith Reynolds, what's up, Erica? What's up, Keith? Alvin, this is a very dismal state of affairs. It is. It's very sad to think if you make $30,000 a year, you make more than 53% of Americans that are working. And I pray that is the elderly. I pray that is single, moms that are married and they're just doing a little part-time gig. I really pray that's what that is. And those numbers aren't actual people living off 20 grand a year. But I remember going to college and we had one girl, her mom had died and she was living on an apartment on her own and going to school. And that was close to what her income was. It was probably 20. So, so that's my thing. Like, if you're going to travel overseas, and I get it, if millennials are like, I'm going to go overseas. I've been seeing a lot of articles where Thailand and some of these Asian countries are going to start getting y'all out of there if you're panhandling. And they show all these pictures of these white kids kind of panhandling. And I'm like, if you, in Vietnam, it's like $500, a month. You could live like a king. You can have a place to rent for a month and food. So if you go over there and you don't have $500, which we actually know a person who was in Austin, Texas, went to Vietnam. And when he came back, he had so little money that he lost his truck and he lost his job. And so people, if you can't afford it, don't do it. Okay. I'm not a big fan of credit cards if you're using them for play and not for investment. But at the end of the day, like, brace yourself. Don't go to a country and you're not prepared to financially go, oh, you need a bribe? Shh. I bet here's $200. And they're like, oh, America's, because they assume you're wealthy. Every one of so guys, I don't know if you noticed about my family, but I talk about on channel, we've gone on a corporate vacation every year for the past maybe 20 years. So about 20, 30 of us get on a bus, either go down to Florida, Orlando, wherever, Tampa, Miami, we've docked out and go on a cruise, a family cruise, since I was like 14. I've got pictures on cruises since I was like 14. So our family goes for a week right the day after Thanksgiving for a solid week. And so many people will be like, how can your family afford to go for a week? And I go, how can your family not? How can your family not figure this out? And so it's about 20, 30 of us, about 6 aunts, 5 uncles, because one of my uncles died. And then all their cousins, right? So just imagine 30 people on a giant mega bus we charter and go down. And sometimes we fly, but mostly we charter the bus down. It's just cheaper. And we'd go every year, but we would go places like Panama and Belize, and we'd go, and my mom would spend $20, and people would be like, oh, thank you. Like, you know, buying trinkets, buying stuff, or going on little tours. It was so interesting to see giving somebody a $20 tip in Belize on a tour made that guy's day. Like, that guy was like, you know, really I could work a regular job, but really the money I make is in tourism. I make more money in tourism than a regular job in this country. So, because Americans tip, right? So just to give you that grasp, like, a cruise isn't this expensive, elaborate thing. It doesn't have to be. You can get cheap cruises cheap as $400, and you do payment plans. So when people talk about not traveling and they don't have the money, sometimes I think it's a combination of figure it out and work on the finances. So 2, big one, build a business. I know everybody's, oh, Erica, dang it, there you go, talking about building damn businesses. Now listen, I am a twofer. I am willing to give you the alternate route. I have friends who make $100,000+ a year, engineers, and I don't think they should start a business. They like working in the system and an environment and contributing, and I respect them for that. I really, really do. Now, here's the key. They are at a potential where they can have investments, where they can invest in the side. They can invest in the stock market. They can invest because the income's higher. But you got to be thinking like that. So many times in Austin, Texas, I will see an engineer or technical family. All of a sudden, that guy loses his job. They have to move. And you can see it in their face, like, I didn't think I'd have to move from this financial position. But what does that come from? Lack of investments. Because there are other guys in Austin who, oh, I lost my job, but I'm not moving. We're well invested. I'll wait it out and we'll get another job in this city because I like this city. That is a much stronger position than, oh my God, we might have to move to another city. We might have to move to California so I can chase work. I'm sorry, if you're getting paid $100,000 a year and you got to keep moving every couple of years, you're no different than the guy, the trucker or the military guy who has to keep moving. You're no different. So investments matter, right? And that's what I mean when I go to 2 options. The guy who built something on the side, and let's say you buy 2 rental properties. That's all. You buy 2. And you put that under an LLC. You just say this is, and you put it in your business bank account. That's where your tenants' rents go into that business bank account. That's a business. That's a business. You know, let's say, and I have another friend who, you know, he collects things and he fixes them and he sells them online. That's a business. It sounds like a hobby, yes. But depending on how much he makes, what if he makes a lot next year? What if he goes and sells a ton of stuff next year? That's a business. Don't knock it, because there's a lot of immigrants coming here and they do something on the side every year. I remember when I worked at H&R Block, all the people there were Asian. They were making that money on the side, you know, and some of them later opened their own tax practices, and they still had a full-time job. So they would come to the tax office after hours, or they would come on the weekends. And so all Saturday, their little office was full of people, and they had built up their clientele because that was their side thing. And that brought them an extra 30, you know, 20 to 30 grand a year, depending on how many clients you have. You have to kind of get up there. And also when you go that route, you're not paying, you know, $50. You're paying $300, $500, sometimes $1,000 for those services, because they're looking out for you and making sure it's specialized to what you and your family need. So on the other end, I love watching Bigger Pockets. I love watching several people who, they come out of college and they go, you know what, I got 20 grand. Let's go flip this house, right? This couple, they end up buying this house. All they had, and they were 22 years old, all they had was like 20 grand and some Home Depot cards to kind of pay for the repairs. And that's what they did. They would buy and then they flipped. It wasn't intentional. It was just like, that's what they decided, man, you know, we're not really ready to pick a certain job in a certain city yet. So they were still in their college town, bought that house, fixed on it, sold it. I think they were living in it as well. Sold it and did it again and did it again and did it again. Now, a guy I love, I don't know if I can have his stuff here with me, but I will definitely put it on Instagram. Check my Instagram channel out. I'll like repost this stuff. He was talking about flipping houses versus buy and hold. And why I love him for this is, he was like, so many people want the sexy. Oh, tax liens, flipping houses. Yeah, that's sexy, right? But the real wealth comes in the buying and holding. And there's a book from the Keller Williams series. You got Flip, and then you got, another one. But this one is Buy and Hold, and it's yellow. If you look on the cover, it's yellow. It's Linda Holden. I'm messing her name up, but her first name is Linda. She's in Denton, Texas. Her video is hilarious because her Southern accent when you watch it on Bigger Pockets, or you just go get the audio version of her book. But her accent is hilarious. But she was her and her husband, she was younger than him. He owned a nightclub, and it was the 80s in Texas. And anybody knows 80s in Texas, you went bust with the oil boom. And same thing in North Carolina, we went bust with farms. Okay, so farming and oil, just like boom, 80s wore everybody out, right? And so when they went bust, she was working, her husband's working, they're exhausted, and they see this property, and she's like, honey, I really want to buy that property by this school. And he's like, why? Because we can rent it out. She literally goes to a guy in town that was a big name person and says, hey, you know, Gus, or whatever his name was, I think it was Gus, can we go in half on this? Me and my husband have enough. We have just enough to buy our half part on the down payment of this, because we had put 20% down in the 80s. And he said, sure. And that started her career. Now, years later, they've got like 50 rental properties. And at some point in time, they sell them as they go. You know, they sell them as they go. And what I loved about her story is her stories, that's where the real wealth is. And a part of her story that just warmed my heart was her son-in-law sadly died of a brain tumor. But there was a 4-month window where they found out he had brain tumor. And the kids and her husband, they just flew out to Colorado and spent all that 4 months with that family, with her daughter and her husband, son-in-law. And she said, I wouldn't trade it for a world. Imagine if I was in my 50s and my husband, who's almost 10 years older than me, is in his 60s, and we're working ourselves to death like they see some people they know, and we couldn't spend the last 4 months of my son-in-law's life with him. People, that is why I do this channel. Wealth changes things. And I've got 1 or 2 cousins who, I come from a family of police officers and military folks, but they have cut up repeatedly. And I promise you, if it wasn't for our family having dollars, those kids would be in jail for a long time, just being silly, 15 to 19 years old, doing silly stuff, you know, speeding or just dumb stuff, public intoxication. And then like now that kid's 22 and is a whole different kid. You know, he's getting his real estate license here in North Carolina. He's a whole different kid. But imagine if we didn't have the money to help him. Imagine if we didn't have money to go on these cruises and see a different type of life and appreciate what our family does have. What if we didn't, you know, my sister's had a business since she was 17 years old. You know, there's a whole nother bit of life out there. If you can figure out the money part just enough where you're tracking it, you know what's coming in, you know what's going out, because I promise you, I've done over 500 phone calls since December. It's exhausting, but I love it because it gives me the energy. But people don't know how much money they have. They don't know how much is in their 401k. They don't know if they got insurance. They know they got dental insurance at work, but they don't never use it. I mean, you really have to take a hole and put a pin on life. And another thing I like about, you guys know I've been talking about this all week, but I'm going to still hold it up. Get this book. It's for 2010 and it's still perfect. I mean, Millionaire by 30. Anyway, Millionaire by 30 by Douglas Andrew and his 2 sons. Imran and Aaron, which is weird names, but they're both, it's him and his 2 sons. The key in that book is he even talks about, and I know teachers who've done this in Austin, where they live in Round Rock, where let's say, you know, you don't go make a, let's say, you know, you're not going to make a ton of income. You're a teacher, maybe you're a nurse, or maybe your husband just doesn't make a lot. You and your spouse don't make a lot, or you're just a single mom and you don't make a ton. Well, if you own a house already, every 2 to 3 years, and it's a technique they talk about in the book, but I've actually heard it more often from other people, where they refinance the house and get about 20 to 40 grand out, and then they put it into a rental. They put a duplex, or they just put it in a nice house in a neighborhood that they know is consistently renting out for high rents, and then they rent it out. And then 2 to 3 years later, they do it again. And if you look up, and the couple I know in Round Rock, I think they have 5 at this point. They're 35. They've been married since 22. I think something like that. But they had a house, and you know, those teacher programs are in every state, down payment assistant programs, and help teachers, firefighters, police officers, correctional officers, you name them, they help you get in the homes. And it's been going on for 20 plus years all over America, mostly. And they've refinanced every 2 to 3 years, like the book talked about, which is funny that, you know, they told me about this even before. When I read this book, I had remembered that technique. But then to actually meet people who were doing it, it was amazing. So that's why if you look on educator banks websites, where it's for teachers or state employees, they have investor loans and second home mortgage loans. Go look on those sites. Go Google it. Look for yourself. Because that is how most teachers will ever gain wealth, is either having very, very, very low expenses, everything's paid off, or refinancing their house and investing in a second property that makes money. Investing in something that makes money in the summer while they're off and not working with kids. That's just how that works. That's a really great technique. And if you feel like, Erica, I love my job and I know my job's not going to pay a lot, that's fine. I don't want you to quit and build a business that you can't. and do something you don't know. I want you to do something that makes sense and that's kind of simple. And that's also why I talk about turnkeys here, because I just wanted you guys to streamline a process so you're not exhausting yourself. You're not overthinking it and freaking out. You actually have a system. You're getting some money from the banks. Now you have enough money for down payment and closing. Okay, now you have a company that's managing it. Now you feel good, you feel confident, and you can go do another one, whether I'm walking you with it or not. I mean, I have a client right now in Florida. Hopefully we can get them on an audio testimonial. They are on their second property, back to back, 3-plex and a 4-plex, same company. I mean, it's possible. You have to be just ready. Once you get a little bit of money and you're pre-approved, you're ready, baby. You are ready. So look, I don't beat that to death. So number 3, scared money don't make no money. Seek experience, not reward. Now, what does this mean? It just goes the same with I was just talking about building businesses. Sometimes people are like, I want to build something and I want to be all over the internet. I want to have millions of views on YouTube. I want to have 1 million people listen to my podcast. When honestly, you could have a small number of people on your channel and make $9,000 a month. Just saying, I know somebody, right? So, I mean, I even was at a fitness thing at Nick Bear's gym, and everybody in that room, some of them only had like 10,000 to 15,000 subscribers on their Instagram channels, only had like 7,000 people kind of watching them consistently, not millions of views, but like a lot of views, maybe like 2-3 mil on their YouTube channels, on their fitness channels. And they were making bank in there. They're making 8 to 9,000 bank up in there. They were making some money. Okay. Because they were selling products. They were selling, supplements, or they were selling t-shirts or headbands. One guy had headbands in there. Another guy had fanny packs. It was kind of funny, but you can monetize your thing. But if you're scared to invest in yourself, or you're scared to invest in a project, that's where the rubber meets the road. If you get $50,000 or $100,000 and you don't invest it in a couple of years, what was the point? Just to have it in your bank account? I mean, it's there in a case of emergency, but that's the thing. So before I move on to the next one, I'm going to look over some of these because I see there's a ton of comments. Sorry, I'm going to go down. Let's see here. Alvin Hollinger, this is a very dismal state of affairs. Yes, I read that. I'm sorry. Cosmic Wisdom, happy Friday, happy Freedom Friday to you. Kenneth Reynolds, very sad. L says hello, L. Cosmic Wisdom, wow. Keith Reynolds, my parents in Cali combined to make $60K a year. Yeah, that is very common. It is when I worked at H&R Block, I'd have couples come in there, hardworking couples. They made $40,000 together, 45-ish, 40, 45-ish. And so I didn't have a problem with those people who were working their butt off looking for deductions. I didn't have a problem with that. I had a problem with somebody who was like working part-time with 4 kids and like, I need some money back. Girl, you didn't make no money to put money back. But that's very true. That's very true. And so what people have to realize, Keith, is let's say that's your life for the next 20 years. Let's say you and your spouse know we ain't gonna make more than $60K a year together. And at some point she may want to have kids. You guys want to have kids and she wants to take a break from working. Where's that excess money going to come from for those kids? Life gets expensive. So that's why I always talk about investing on this channel. Davia Jane Brown, sorry, I'm killing the first name, right? It's okay. Keith knows we had it rough. Now I look at that and first feel blessed, but wonder how they did that. That's why I'm determined to change things. Good, Keith. Thank you for making that decision. I think the way a lot of our parents, I don't know, depending on where you guys are from. I'm in the South. I'm from the Carolinas, even though military family, I was in Alaska and some other places. I remember our parents cooked all the time. And I remember my mom was in the military and she was like a size 2. It was crazy. But she was a vegetarian. I remember being a kid and we always had like rice and a bunch of beans and like yams. And like when I look back on it, we didn't have a ton of meat on our plate. Like we had, I think when we got towards high school, we ended up having a lot more chicken and beef stew. But we had chicken and dumplings all the time, chicken stir fry. After we left a duty station, we had Asian neighbors. We had just a lot of veggies and rice. It was crazy. And so I think a lot of people's parents cooked at home. And I remember going over to somebody's house for dinner and I got 1 chicken leg as a kid. We were visiting. Greens, collard greens, rice, black-eyed peas, a piece of cornbread, and maybe if we were good, we got like yams, like a little bit of yams on the plate if we ate our food. So I think a lot of ways our parents saved money back in the day is that they cooked at home. So let's see here. Okay, cosmic wisdom. Is 20 units to a US dollar in Nicaragua? Oh, do you mean that we're our dollar's 20 times powerful? Or are you talking about when we do an exchange? Cosmic wisdom, I think I know what you're saying. But yes, when we would go on cruises and we would go, you know, and they'd be like, you want to go snorkel? I remember I went snorkeling and it scared the crap out of my family. But they were very safe. And we all donated $20, and it was 10 people from the cruise boat on snorkeling. So if everybody gave $20, that was $200, right? And that was just their tip. That wasn't what we paid them $15, $20 to snorkel on the boat. So it was like 4 or 5 guys on the boat. 4 or 5 guys on the boat. Plus we tipped. Now they did that maybe 2, 3, 4 times a day. So yeah, tourism is what paid, and our, you know, and I can understand them every time someone tips being very grateful. Alvin Holler, whoa, Erica talking about vacays. Alvin, you know, every year, I remember we told people that, and people would look at us like we were crazy. They're like, are y'all all in the military? Are y'all all police officers? I go, we're all different stuff, you know, police officers, teachers, dental hygienists, my aunt's a nurse, this other aunt's this. And people couldn't figure out, but I was like, it's the week of Thanksgiving. Most everyone has vacation or can take vacation at that time. Alex the gamer, holla, or oh no, sorry, this is Ola. Thought it said holler for a minute. Sorry, my bad. Ola, back to you. Alvin Hollander, hashtag laddering. Listen, don't be stealing my book title I got coming up. Anyway, now I'm messing. I'm not gonna put on Instagram on the Instagram page a couple pictures of different book cover options. So you guys give me some feedback on that. Alvin Hollander, you're a sitting duck with just one form of income. Truth, that's the best way I can do it. Like for people who well, I talk about the table of wealth. It's like a table. All these things are sitting on top of the table. Your expenses, your parents' future care, your children, your bills, your car payments, everything. But you're gonna just have a job. And then maybe people say, where I got a 401k. But 9 times out of 10, a lot of you don't have a ton in it if you're only 35 to draw out of it, unless you've been consistently working since 22 and consistently investing. You know, you might have more money than other people to draw out of it. But 9 times out of 10, that's why I talk about maximum funded insurance. That's why I talk about gold and silver coins and gun. Like if I need to sell something, it's gonna get sold, right? If there's a true emergency, because people are depending on one thing. And here's the sad part. I go in a lot of these credit repair groups and these dream catcher groups and budget groups, and people are in there like, can y'all pray for me? I lost my job and, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might not be able to pay my rent. I'm like, honey, you know what you need to do? You need to go Uber and Lyft. You need to go deliver pizzas by Friday. They'll hire people on the spot. You need to go get busy. Like, I'll pray for you. Like, I believe in God and I'll pray for you, but you need to get busy. Like, girl, bye. Anyway, sorry, I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna stop talking like that. But yeah, sitting duck, you're a sitting duck. Like if you don't have a game plan for your money, and like when I first had my appendix taken out a couple years ago, and like I had money coming in from bank certificates and a few monthly dividend stocks, and this wasn't like balling. It was just like just enough. I was like, oh wow, that's nice. And I actually ended up, I think, selling like a certain number of shares. I got like $1,000 out at the time. Okay. Cosmic wisdom. Can you buy a property using your personal credit and collect rent in an LLC? Okay, so I'm going to do a CYA, consult your attorney, wink, wink, consult your accountant, okay? Because what most people will do is they will start with their personal, they'll have personal credit, they'll get approval, get the mortgage in their name, and open up a business bank account saying this is their real estate investment company, and just let all the money go into there. Because technically your company is managing your property. Now, don't quote me, not a real estate attorney, but you can go to an attorney and he'll explain that a little bit better to you. That's essentially what most people do. Your company is managing your properties that you own. And it's not a cross conflict. It just, when you do your taxes, it comes out a little bit neater. But again, I don't want to get into S corps and try to talk like an attorney when I'm not an attorney. So again, CYA, consult your attorney, consult your accountant. That's what a lot of people do, because if you try to go, hey, I'm going to sell this private property to this LLC company, the mortgage lender is going to say, I need you to pay that up front. Like, I need a full check of the balance, because I didn't sell to this company. I sold to you. So that's why I always tell people, consult your attorney, because there are ways to go about it. But we'll go over that in another video. I'll get Kareem back on. He's a mortgage lender. We can hit that up about commercial loans as well. Okay, would I recommend holding the mortgage in the LLC? Well, the thing here, Cosmic Wisdom, is, let's say, and I'm going to give you an example. Clayton Morris, everybody on the channel, definitely go check out Morris Invest. Clayton Morris, he works in the Indiana area, and he flips about 15. They flip about 15 properties a month. And so a lot of them, they only work with cash buyers. So $40,000 to $50,000 homes. If you have $40,000 to $50,000 available in cash, let's say you got credit cards, let's say you got business lines of credit, there's a million ways you can come up with that. And you purchase that property. You can purchase that property in your LLC. Now, it doesn't have to just be cash. There are ways to do it with your LLC in a commercial loan. But again, I'm going to bring Kareem on. We're going to do a commercial loan series. So you guys can have save some of those questions. Keep Reynolds, buy and hold is the move with an up and down economy. Yeah, like I really want you guys to go check out Linda on that from Denton, Texas. That book, it's in the Keller Williams series. Gary Keller, who does The One Thing, the $1 million real estate investor, $1 million real estate agent. It's this yellow cover and it says hold, right? It says, hold. Because at the end of the day, like that was her whole point. In the 80s in Texas, high interest rates. In the 90s, getting better. 2000s, really high. And they could sell some of their properties. But instead of selling them, they could refinance and take the money and keep investing in other properties because of the boom in Texas. Price Diamond. Erica, I like your hustle. What's your zodiac sign? It's Pisces. And they're moody people. So, but that's not always my case. But to give y'all a quick funny, there's over 18 people in my family who are all born in March. So when they're like, Pisces are moody. Pisces are, March people are blah, blah, blah. When I was growing up, every Friday for a month, we'd have a big birthday cake and they would just say everybody who was in March's birthday. It was like a cheap birthday. And I'd be like, and I have a cousin. He's actually, because I'll just explain it. I have an aunt that's 72 years old. And I have an aunt that's barely 50, if that makes sense to you. So my grandma had children way into the 40s, like for a long time. So at one point in time, my oldest aunt was having children at the same time as my grandma, which is weird. I know. But that's just a long span of having children, right? And so I have cousins, actual cousins, who are like 50, 47. 45. So they're way ahead of me. We're not even in the same area, but I have a cousin. He's older than me. He actually was there the day I was born and he was in his 20s, and his birthday is on March 10th and mine is on March 9th. And he was actually hoping my mom would wait a little bit longer and have me on March 10th so we could share a birthday. So he's a special cousin to me, but sometimes I call him Unc. But that was the thing. It was like everybody was born in March. So all the rumors of like March people are moody. March people are this, and everybody be like, what? We're all March people. We get along. So anyway, Alvin Hollander, you need investments that can produce income and can adjust to inflation. Keeping a bunch of cash does not work with inflation. Inflation, I think you just missed that. Eats cash value. So here's a prime example of that. Like a lot of barber shops, a lot of hair braiders. My sister's had a hair salon since 19. A lot of people who do lawn care businesses also, they've had to kind of adjust. Like I've noticed since college, a lot of them have been like, clients will come in and be like, I don't have cash. And I remember sometimes people say, well, go to the ATM. It's right by the shop. Until they had to all be like, we have to get merchant services so people can swipe their debit cards. So now all of them are on, okay, we got a debit card, we can swipe. And it was just a change in, I think, the economy, and me just seeing people who do service business. Like the man I know who does lawn care, he was like, yeah, everybody does debit cards now. So I had to get on with the times. And you're like, it's funny to hear it, but like, yeah, everybody does do debit cards. It's cash is great when you make cash, but when people are underreporting, even the flea market vendors, all these people, when you're underreporting and you're writing off 1 million deductions just to get 1 million deductions, when it comes time to buy things or buy a business space or buy a vehicle, like you get the crap into the stick. And a lot of times they don't listen because they're like, well, I got cash, girl, I can buy this. Well, then they don't never build their credit. And then they're, I have a lot of clients who are either truck drivers, hair salon owners, barbershop guys. And they're like, Erica, I tried to go buy this building and they wouldn't approve me. So we had to work on their credit. We had to build them up, maybe get some AU lines for them. But yeah, it's important. You know, it's important to have that balance because yes, cash is king. If you got it, you can use it, but credit puts you on a whole nother level. Just does. And your cash gets ate up. Turn your house into an investment bank. You know, honestly, I don't want people to do like 2008 where they would refinance their house and pay off all their credit cards, but never change their behavior so they run their credit cards back up, or refinance their house and buy an Escalade. I remember we had a guy in this one neighborhood we have rentals in, and the house was only worth $50,000. Like even when I knew as a younger, maybe 19, this doesn't make sense that this neighborhood where all the houses are $50,000, your house is worth $80,000 now. Like good for my family not like refinancing at that time because they knew that didn't make sense. But I remember one of the neighbors refinanced his house. He had a Cadillac Escalade, and this dude was a janitor at a school. Now I'm not trying to knock janitors, but it was like, do you need a Cadillac Escalade? Now you don't refinance your house. It's almost paid off, and that just don't make no sense to me. So anyway, yeah, be careful, but be smart about it. Like number 4 is invest in things you know, right? And that was part of what I was going to tie into. But there's so many comments. I like reading your guys' comments. They're good. Daryl's 869. Do I ever come up for air? No, I don't, Daryl's. Don't come on my channel talking that smack. Nah, I'm not worried about it. L, can you tell us who that person is that is making 9K off a few subscribers? It's actually like 12 people, and me included. Because the business, this is just honestly, the funny thing about this channel is it was a side business. And and the painting company was like, my painting company, and I have a real estate license, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then eventually this channel started really making income as far as like clients and consulting and credit repair. And I was like, hey, I need to give this more attention, full-time attention here. Chris McDonald, hey, Erica. Oh, Chris McDonald, did you read my other one? Okay, so there's a video, you guys, I have, and I really want to get rid of it, but I don't put any ads on it, and it's like 30,000 views. And it's about, I kind of did it jokingly matter because I got mad at this New Yorker chick I got an argument with at the office, the real estate office earlier. But it was like blacks fleeing to Texas and Atlanta. And people were like, you're a liar. And I'm like, you can Google any newspaper article, you can Google, people are leaving the North in droves. I mean, right now here in North Carolina, I see Ohio plates, New York plates, all off the I mean, it's thousands. I mean, there's a place in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's called Cary, North Carolina. It's it started out a suburb, then became a whole town. We call it containment area for relocated Yankees. I mean, it's a joke because everybody there is they're not from here. And they choose to self-segregate and all live in this one place called Cary, North Carolina. They refuse to live in other parts of North Carolina. They just all live Pennsylvania, and a lot of them came down with, you got to realize over 900 tech companies came to Raleigh, but Raleigh is also the research triangle because we have 10 colleges in a circle, and a lot of the colleges produce, I don't know, thousands of engineers a year. So you have people who, you know, right there, they go to school, they get a job, they live in that area. Well, a lot of these people came down with these other tech companies. They came down with the airlines. They came down with the banks, Bank of America. A lot of Bank of America employees came up from Atlanta. And so when I tell people there are millions of people moving, like over the course of 10 years, North Carolina became equivalently a silent boom, what we call a silent boom. We were booming and we had thousands of people moving in every year, but all you ever hear about is Texas, or you hear about Atlanta, or you hear about Florida having 200 people move a day in certain cities. But North Carolina was right there with them. And so I love when people were like attacking me and cussing me out on there and like, oh, but it's a lot of times it's people will move south. And if you don't have skills, you don't have skills. So if you're a receptionist at a doctor's office in New York and they're paying you $30 an hour, you come down to North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, they're going to pay you $12, $15 an hour. I'm sorry. They just are. That's not a high skill. It's not. Unless you're like the girl who sets up the eye appointment and can clear and do all this stuff, like you're a receptionist. Sorry. But to act like engineers and teachers and doctors and lawyers and truck drivers aren't making money in the South is just idiotic, right? And I've told you guys about my couple friends from East Carolina who they went back home to Virginia. They're like, man, bump North Carolina. They're in Virginia working, making $90K a year and these government jobs. And they're like, yo, we hate it. The traffic. We're driving in traffic all day. And they stayed for 2 years. came down, pre-approved for houses, and bought big old houses in North Carolina, and been here ever since. So I love northern people getting mad when I say you're broke up in north. How dare you be broken? Listen, no one retires up north. When people retire, where they go? They go south. Now, if they retire out in the suburbs, that too. My raisins one. I've never made more than 55K, and I did pretty good on my own, even New York. Well, you know what, my raisins, congratulations. Because a lot of times people don't have budgets. Again, they don't know where they're at. Now, there are parts of New York. I told you guys about the 6 brothers. My friend Kenny knows them more better than I do, but there were 6 brothers. They all came out of New York, and they all came to East Carolina University. They were like doorsteps in ages. And the parents even just bought a house. They were from upstate New York. They had like a farm. They even, if you talked about New York, they were like, oh, that's not us. We're in the country. There are different parts of New York. It's not like it's just the state, and New York City is the only thing in it. There are, northern parts. There are parts by Newberry. There's Portuguese or something like that. I'm saying it wrong. There's all kind of parts, right? So let me not make it seem like everybody's New York City and a douche like Scaramucci or something. Which Scaramucci, actually, if you listen to his podcast, isn't that much of a douche. I don't know what happened with the Trump thing. But if you listen to this podcast, it's pretty positive. But yeah, you can. I mean, listen, the key here is you can make it anywhere. If you got your mindset right, you can make it anywhere. Chris McDonald. Carolina chicken with greens. Stop it. Byron the prize. Do you think using a HELOC is used to take that money and invest in a property? Can you explain HELOC? Okay, so we'll bring on Kareem to do it again. But again, this book and several other books, Automatic Millionaire even talks about it too. Automatic Millionaire, the homeowner, you grab that one too, because you guys always ask me what books I read. I don't read many books right this minute. I have Audible that reads a couple to me here and there. But like there was a time when I was like working 2-3 jobs and I'm like, oh, I got to get out of this space. I got to make more money. Okay, I got to finish my real estate license and then I'm going to do this. There was a time over a couple of years that I read everything I can get my hands on. And also funny, in college, I worked at Borders before they closed. I loved Borders. It was cool. They gave us all kind of books. Key to the books was they would rip the cover off the books and we'd send the cover back to get the money for them and throw the books in the trash. So every Tuesday, we have a bunch of people in the trash digging for these books. It was crazy. So anyway, back to your question. HELOC, yes. Do I believe every 2-3 years taking maybe 20 to 30 grand out in equity because the way the economy is right now and putting in a rental property is good? Yes, because at best, right? Let's say at best, you get a property in your area and it's renting for $1,200 a month. Expenses and everything paid for, let's say $900 at the end of the day is yours. $900, $800 a month is yours. Times that times a year, that's an additional $9 grand in your pocket, right? Every year that's additional $9 grand. What is $9 grand to you? Now, many people say, well, that's not much. But you didn't talk about deductions. You didn't talk about writing things off. You didn't talk about the depreciation tax. I mean, there's a reason I always talk about that book, 475 tax deductions and incentives, because it's not just owning the property. The property is going to save you money. You're going to make $9,000 off the rental property. Then on the other side, and that's after all expenses, then on the other side, you're going to be able to get some of your tax money back from your job. So let's say you keep doing that every year. Let's say every year let's say you do 3 of those, just 3. 9,000 times 3 is what? 27,000 a year. Who couldn't use an extra 27,000 a year? 10 years from now, let's say you and your wife are 40 or 50. I don't know. Depends on how old you are watching this channel. 25, 25, 35. At 35, how does extra 27,000 a year sound to you? And that's just 3 properties. 3 nice properties in your area. So, got to do that. Alvin Pisces, very perspective. I don't know about that one, but yeah. Ebony Hayes. Okay. Ebony Hayes. I listened to Linda one day on the podcast. Seems like she grew the business slow and steady. Now they're reaping the benefits. Stay consistent. So serious. Like, I like Linda. Like, I really want to go to Denton. If there's a possibility, maybe she's at VidCon or she comes to Gary Keller stuff in Austin, I would personally drive there and go meet her because I just love her story. I love how she just is the epitome of true work, but slow work, right? There used to be a time where if your husband was a plumber and you were a mom and maybe you worked and, you guys just built it up. He worked himself up to a lot of number of clients and you had some investments and you lived life. And that's just gone. I don't know what has happened, but everybody believes that they're supposed to make $100,000 coming out of college, and they're supposed to, if they get married, that person better be the hottest woman they've ever seen, the hottest man they've ever seen, making $100,000 too. Like, what TV are you watching? What in the hell are y'all watching on TV? That's crazy talk. Like, I don't even know who these people are watching. Like, and I think also because I'm from a military town, sometimes the people are spoiled because a lot of the men and women they meet are in shape. They're jogging. They got a job. They're on the up and up. So I like Linda. I just think she reminds you of a time in America where if, in your 50s, you should be doing well. You should have made some choices that lead you to living well. Does that make sense? Okay. There are other ways to save for retirement outside of 401ks. You know what's so funny? I have a friend to this day. He's arguing with me. Like, he's like, I have $2 million in my 401k. So what, dude? If we have a crash in the next 6 months, that money's gonna probably cut in half. And then you have $1 million. I think I told you about at Lowe's. We had a guy. He's a regional manager, and he had $3 million in the company. This is before my time. This is just, they use him as a sample to make fun of Larry. But he was walking around always telling people he got $3 million in his 401k. He's balling out of control. He owns all this Lowe's stock. And at the end of the day, then Lowe's split. They split the share. Like, they basically trying to say a way that makes sense. Instead of it being worth 22, it was worth 11, right? If that makes sense to you guys. I'm trying to not go too deep in a stock talk today, but just imagine your stock was worth $22 and now it's only worth $11. So Larry ended up only having about 1.5 million, and he shut up, running around telling everybody he had $3 million because, yeah, you're a millionaire, but on paper, there's other ways to do it outside of 401ks. And I think I'm a hard asset person. If you guys saw the other video I did a day or two ago, a couple days ago, like, I buy gold and silver all the time. Like, gold, not so much. Gold's a little pricey, but I buy those little silver, bars, and I give them to my cousins and my nephews, which is funny because for their birthday, they'd be like, really, Eric? I'm like, you asked for a 20, you got a 20. And so, you just stack those up because they're tangible, they're touchable, and I can sell them. And I'm just a big believer in that. Tangible, touchable things. Even if you have raw land, Alex Becker, I like his channel. He bought a plot of land near downtown Dallas. Everybody's like, that's stupid, because he has a big company that's built on all this advertising. He was like, why would I be risky in everything I do? That makes no sense. So Alvin, I'll cut you. Alvin goes, you think Erica's long-winded on video? Check out her Facebook post and comment. Listen, I like messing with people on Facebook. The reason I like messing with them on Facebook is they see it. Like, the funny part is some people are lurking and they see it and they want to comment. They really do. Like, Erica, you're so wrong. There's a couple of guys who come on my channel, come on my Facebook, and like, will try to comment and debate me. And I'm like, it's just an opinion. If you don't like it, you don't have to answer. But they won't stop. They have to keep going. And so Alvin knows. Chris Don, that's messed up. Chris McDonald says, I've never seen so many dumb blanks in my life arguing with you. That whole Texas video is still, the reason that video is at 30,000 views is because they'll come on there and send me the most hateful messages ever in my life. So I'll delete a couple a day, and then I'll respond to a couple a day, and then it just keeps going. And it's like, I want to delete that video so bad, but then so many people will message me a couple days later, a month later, go, you know what? I came on that video, and then I decided to watch your other videos, and you're actually pretty decent. And so, I mean, it's traffic. I hate the traffic, but it's traffic. Ebony Hayes, yep, they all moved to Cary. You know that. Like, you see them when they moved to Charlotte. I don't know if Kenny's watching the video today, but when they move down there to Charlotte, they act the same way. They want to live on the water and have a boat. And like, they know if they lived in New York or New Jersey, they wouldn't be living on, unless they lived in the Maine area or they lived Delaware, some other places, they wouldn't be living on the water like this. They wouldn't be living with a big old boat like that unless they came south. Come on now. And now Wake Forest, they going to Wake Forest? I'm going to check that out. Now that you said that, I'm going to drive up there because I've heard that. Everybody, as you know, I've been living in Austin the past 5 years, but I love North Carolina. I invest here. Like, I'm trying to buy a property in Greensboro to rent out. Like, I just believe this state is like a silent killer. Like, we're just chugging along. There are a bunch of people, Google Charlotte. There are a bunch of real estate agents who've made $1 million recently in Charlotte. And they've been just selling, it's just chugging along. Nobody knows about it. Chris McDonald, Houston is getting all comers and refugees from small nearby towns. Yo, do you know it takes 22 minutes? It's like a 22-mile drive across Houston. I was down there a little bit before we left, and I mean, I was driving. It was at 5 o'clock, and I could have just slapped myself. I was like, you knew it was 5 o'clock by the time you got here. You should just pull off in Katy and go to Starbucks and sit for an hour. But I was really wanting to get to Sugarland, so I just did it. But yeah, I noticed that about Houston, and like when I talk to people from Houston, they're like, all those damn New Orleans people, and I'm like, dude, they've been there since Hurricane Katrina. Why don't y'all leave them people alone? But y'all have a ton of immigrants there. I went on a plane out of Houston to DC, and the plane, I promise you, was 90% Asian, Koreans, Japanese. There were some Filipinos on that plane and some military guys, and I was like, what in the world, Houston? And they were from Houston. So Ebony Hayes, all my family from DC, Maryland area moved to South Carolina when they retired. We call them halfback. So if you, let's say you retired to Florida, they call you a snowbird because you're coming from up north, and you may be gone sometime in the summer. You won't be there, you know, in Florida when it's hot. They call you a halfback when you go to North Carolina, South Carolina, because you went all the way from New York, but you only stopped halfway back. Like you didn't go all the way to Florida. You didn't want to do Florida. You did halfway. You realize I can afford North Carolina, South Carolina prices. And here's what I'm saying. If you know you're going to do that, if you know, like, be honest with yourself. You know you're going to move to South Carolina, North Carolina. Won't you start buying up stuff in your town? So when you move back to your town and people come up to you, oh, you own these properties in town? You already have created yourself a business. Let's be honest. You just set yourself up a little office. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a $300 office I had in North Carolina. It was cheap. It was great. And you are now the real estate office of whoever, right? If you want to do that when you retire, you've created yourself a retirement kind of gig. People don't be thinking ahead. They want to live in Maryland because it's fancy. Okay. Alvin says, make sure you cover the downside of HELOCs and down markets. So here's the thing. Last time we had a recession and people had these HELOC loans, they came for them. They were like, hey, pay your loan today or we're taking it, right? So I'm always not going to say HELOC, but I will say, number one in my mind is going to be business lines of credit. Number two, business credit cards. Number three, personal lines of credit. Number four, personal credit cards. Now, why I say that is because I've known people, it's not right, but they did during the last recession. We had a friend, he had like $100,000 American Express card and two other cards that were really big, high limits. He started a business and the business stayed open. Here's the kicker. The business stayed open, but he could not pay the credit cards back. And he actually, he basically did settlements like for way, way less. And I mean, it did mess up his credit for a while, but he was kind of like, I have two barbershops and I own a little plaza. He had like a little two, 3-door plaza in some small town in North Carolina by Charlotte, by Concord. And so he wasn't even phased. He wasn't even phased. And that's the power of having a little flexibility, whether you're using business credit or personal credit, but also realizing instead of a HELOC loan, some people just completely refinance. So instead of just saying, hey, I'm gonna take this HELOC loan out, take some of the equity line out, and they might call back the loan, just like they would with stocks. If you have margin, they'll call you on that margin. There's a lot of people who jumped out of windows in 2009 and they call those margins up in, from their brokerage offices. Just saying, they did that. So anyway, so yes, I'm not always a fan of HELOC, but that's my order. Business lines of credit, if you're going to use them. Business credit cards. Number three, business lines of credit and business lines of credit, business credit cards. Number three, personal lines of credit, personal credit cards. Number five, equity out of your house. I mean, if you can tap equity out of your house and you feel confident in the investment you're making, do so. Number six, HELOCs. That's how I do the order, Alvin. That clears that up for people, because HELOC, they could call you back. All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Chris McDonald said, Linda, how can I find her platform? Hey, Ebony, can you put Linda's information if you have it in there? Or anybody who's seen Bigger Pockets, Linda, I forgot her name. She's out of Denton, Texas. She wrote the book Buy and Hold. It's under the Gary Keller series. I just don't have it right in front of me. Chris McDonald, retail regional manager are crazy. They are crazy, dude. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, Lowe's, once you become like Lowe's got those lawsuits, they weren't making enough minority and women managers. But when we got them in there, like they were people like, hey, you want to be a manager? I'm like, I'm a kid, yo. I just got out of college. Like, you want me to be a manager, yo? But once you get in there in the system, you can just keep moving up. You just keep moving city to city, Lowe's to Lowe's, Home Depot to Home Depot as a manager, and it's a whole different experience. I'll put it this way. So they are a little bit cray. Like I remember we had a little manager. He wasn't even like, he was like a department manager. And Home Depot, this is when Home Depot and Lowe's are fighting. Home Depot's like, yo, we'll give you 10 grand more if you come over here. And he went over there and he took it. Then 2 years later, Lowe's was like, we'll give you 10 grand more and we'll make you actual a zone manager. And he came back and took it again. I'm like, for 10 grand, Bo? Like, it's not a lot of money. But he just was pissed. But regional managers, they have a little bit more clout. They can drive. I remember this guy, Larry, this guy we had, not Larry, not the $3 million Larry, but this other regional manager. He was half black, but he looked like a white kid. He was cool. And he had a Cadillac. And he would go from store to store. He walking around. He's slapping hands. He's shaking hands. I don't think that guy ever worked. That's all I'm going to say. Somebody did his work for him, but he never looked like he did any work. Chris McDonald, Alex Beckers are true. Let me put it to you this. Let me put it to you like this. There's about 5 videos of Alex Beckers that I have sent people. I'm gonna put this out. I've sent people who are starting a business and they are now making about $2-3 grand a month. I'll just say it that way. So if you guys are like, hey, Erica, okay. Alex Becker is a lot of cussing. He doesn't care. He's already made his millions. He's young. But if you see, there's a couple of Alex Becker videos talking about building businesses and the key there. And he's part of why I finished out some courses, because I was like, you know what? He's right. I should give this information away for free. It's not that big of a deal. But like living as an author, living as a writer, that course is almost done. I think it'll be done by Monday next week. A business by Friday, or how to like, basically I have one course of like how I started the painting company and how service businesses, like how do you get your leads? How do you get your credit? How do you do? I put it in there because there are people out there who are hungry to get started. If you're hungry to get started, I respect you. I can feel that, right? When you're really ready to get started. When you're not so ready to get started, you find a bunch of reasons and excuses. And I don't know if it can work, Erica. I don't know. And you're like, boo. The only thing you can do different right now is go personally to the banquet, what I've told you, and try. And they say no, they say no. What's the worst? We've conditioned people in our society to not ever hear no. I mean, and let's be honest, women don't want to hear no from men, and men don't want to hear no from women. When you're at work, nobody wants to tell you no. You know, that's why everybody hates a manager or shift leader that tells everybody no. I remember I was riding in the car with my cousin, and his little daughter was like, Daddy this, Daddy that, give me some candy, give me this, give me that. And he was just like, no. He said no like 30 times. I was annoyed, but I also had respect for him because I thought, you know how hard it is to tell a kid no like 30 times, and it's your little daughter, and you know you want to give her some ice cream. It's one of those things. Okay. All right. Keith Reynolds, March 5th all day. Keith, I had a friend. Her baby was due to be born on March 9th. And I was like, March, people. And then the baby was born March 5th. I was like, close, girl, close. Alvin, you better bring an A game when you debate Erica. You know, Alvin, I don't know everything. There are several stuff, like when I talk to people, I'm like, I don't know that. Like I told you guys in this channel, every time I moved to a different city, I would learn about jobs and things I didn't know about. Like I would meet traveling nurses and I would go, how'd you find out about being a traveling nurse? And they would go, I had to just, there were people who came and recruited me from the hospital. Because who knows about that? If you're in some small town and you want to move around and you want to traveling and you're a nurse, like that would be amazing. So there's all kind of jobs and things out there that I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. And I think a lot of Americans are like, I'm comfortable right here working my job, knowing what I know. And that's just no way to live. Okay. Chris McDonald said, yeah, I dislike New Orleans people. Houston is a sanctuary and port city. Don't do the New Orleans people. Like, I will put it to you this way. New Orleans people in Houston, they are a little ratchet. I'll give y'all that. They are flashy down there. But here in Austin, they always start restaurants and people love it. In Dallas, they start restaurants. People love it. And Los Angeles, the ones that stayed out there, I don't know why they stayed out there, but they did. They're thriving. So I think what happened is if you don't ever move in this country or visit other cities, you don't know how good it is. Like so many New Orleans people are like, my child's school only had half the bathrooms working and holes in the ceiling and holes in the floor. And she wasn't even in the worst part of New Orleans. Do you see what I'm saying? So like when they get to another city and their child is going to a clean school, functioning school in Texas, teachers are working with them, it's a different mindset. It's part of South Carolina's problem right now. South Carolina for a long time, I'm gonna be honest, was racist. They didn't care about educating the black people or the poor white people in certain parts of South Carolina. So all these people are just fleeing South Carolina. Well, now all these older people are coming into South Carolina, and what do they need most? Home health care. They need doctors. They need nurses. And so now, South Carolina's in some of the same issue. Like they're trying to jumpstart all these schools and community colleges to train all these people all of a sudden because for years they've never cared. I mean, I've had friends go teach in South Carolina and literally cry and quit because they're like, girl, there are people in 5th grade who can't read. And the county hasn't cared. The county hasn't cared. I remember one of my friends put hooked on phonics in a classroom of 10-year-olds. Let me state that again. She put hooked on phonics in a classroom of 10-year-olds because she was saying, I'm not making fun of your accents, but some of y'all are not comprehending and some of y'all are not reading well. So anyway, sanctuary cities, port cities, that's kind of what happens to you, is you just have people from everywhere and everybody's not thinking on the same page. Jay Berry, peace. I guess Jay Berry went out for today. Thanks, Jay Berry, for stopping through. Name Singletary. Sorry, I messed your name up. I needed to book another consultant session. Hey, what's up, Mr. Singletary? So I'm getting ready to wrap this up, but I wanted to finish the last 3. Is number 4, invest in what you know, land, micro businesses, whatever they may be. Like my sister loves hair stuff. Like she's getting her real estate license, but she's had a hair salon business since she was 19 years old. Now, at some point, I believe people, as they grow and change, they can do different things. Now, also, when you are a barbershop owner or a hair salon owner, you get to an age where everybody's just working for you. You're not doing that kind of work. Same thing goes with construction and plumbing. A lot of people are in that video are hating on me like, oh man, you'll put your back out if you do construction and plumbing. And that's not true. 9 times out of 10, what happens in construction and plumbing, if you're not gonna say if you're smart, but I'm gonna say if you are future minded, instead of being the guy crawling into their house, you hire a 20-year-old guy and he crawls under their house. Same thing with my painting company. I don't paint no houses. I don't even do any bids anymore. I have people who are hired to do that because it builds their skill level. And they sign a non-compete clause, of course, and it also keeps this process going. If you become a bottleneck in your business, and that's why I did that course, because 9 times out of 10 guys become the bottleneck in their business because they're used to being a one-man show and they go paint houses or they go make fences or they go cut grass and it's just them. I will tell you, every time I've seen somebody who cuts grass and they're in their 50s, they have 2 young Mexicans or 2 young black guys or 2 young white guys working for them. That's always been the case. And I've got young white guys working for me. So, I mean, it's not like at some point you invest in what you know and keep investing in what you know. You just kind of delegate more. Like instead of owning 1 barbershop, you own 2, 3, 4. Instead of owning, 1, there's a guy here in Fayetteville. Instead of owning 1 t-shirt shop, you own 1, 2, 3, 4 t-shirt shops. You keep investing in what you know. I saw you drive by earlier, but anyway, sorry. I'm on the video, sorry. But anyway, number 5, deadlines are your friend. And I'm wrapping it up, but deadlines are your friend, folks. I'm thinking about putting out a productivity journal because so many times I call people and I'm like, okay, when are your bills coming out? When do the money come in? How does your business look? And, how does your, just your job income look? People don't know. They really don't know. They don't sit down and look at it. So that's why I'm a big advocate for the Digit app and the Acorn app, because the Acorn app, every time you swipe, it takes the excess change, right? It's like imagine putting change in a jar. That's what you're doing. The Digit app can take $5, maybe $10 a day, or however you adjust it for your account. And I think that's so needed because I have a set of clients and they're a very high income couple, but they weren't saving a ton of money because, you make higher income, sometimes you spend more. Well, they saved $800, just the wife saved $800 in 1 month with a Digit app. Now, how often would you go in your bank account and put $800 away? You wouldn't. You'd be like, oh, I need to use that money for this or for that or for this or for that or for this. Yeah, I'm gonna do this, right? So number 6, track and report to yourself. I'm talking about productivity calendar, but I'm also talking about a journal. So I'm thinking I might do one for classy climb and one for classy vibe. I'll tell you guys about that later. Because what happens is when you journal, I can go right now and look at some books I have in my closet, notebooks, and I toss them every couple of years. Like I'll reread like what was my mindset, what were my fears, what were my thoughts, and I go, girl, what was going on with you? And I just, I read them and I kind of toss them. I kind of scan through what I'm looking at. And some of the most famous people, when they write biographies on them, they go off their journals. It used to be a time where you didn't jump on social media and tell everybody your business or how you were feeling that day. You just sat down in a journal and you wrote out, I'm upset, or I'm angry, or I'm this. Does that make sense? I'm frustrated, or this is how life looks, or because there's sometimes you're afraid in a day, and then next week you're like, that's crazy. Like sometimes even in this business, I'm like, oh, I'm so upset. And then I'll look up and I'll have 3, 4, 5 sales every day. So something, right? It's not even always credit repair. It's not always a course, not always tax liens course or financial. It's just different things. And I go, I'm very blessed to wake up every day and there's somebody purchasing something. There's somebody wanting to work with me, and I'm willing to work with them. So, it's a process. So again, invest in what you know. Deadlines are your friends, because honestly, I talk to a lot of people who we can get them credit, we can get them business lines of credit, and then they don't invest. They just sit and go, I just don't know, Erica. I got to research it some more. Honestly, it's fear. There's 3 types of fear. There's fear of losing, there's fear of winning, and there's fear of neutral. Now, what do I mean by neutral? There's a fear. You ever hear people when they're like, oh, I'm gonna go through all this whole process. Like this is, I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of times you'll talk to overweight people and you go, girl, you just lose weight and do this. And they'll go, girl, but I don't want to have all this excess skin or saggy arms or all this stuff. And you go, so you want to just stay 300 pounds? You know what I mean? Like you even hear this from or even Gary Vee is a better example. Gary Vee talked about, he worked out every single day for 18 months. And at the end of the 18 months, if you'd have told him what he was going to look like, he might have not did it. He was like, I was expecting so much more. Because in our mind, we have this expectation. And it's very true. And so it's the fear of doing all this work and not getting a great result. I remember we had a girl in our group, our singles group. She lost all this weight. She looked great. She looked like she was really healthy and focused. And you know what she said? Oh, nobody asked me out on dates. I feel like this was a waste. So taking care of your body, getting to your best health possible, was a waste of time? No, honey, that you seek experience, not rewards. And I love Mr. Victor Pride of Bold and Determined, but like people are so like, I want to be married and have kids, or I want to have all this money or have these rental properties, but they don't want to seek the experience or the hard work of it. That's where the win is, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to y'all? Like the win is the journey. Like you want to get there. Like you need to get there to your goal. I don't want you to like clean your credit up with me and then get business lines of credit and then like don't invest in a property. I want you to complete the goal of owning rental properties, of owning, helping this money go fund your business. But I want you to realize a part of the experience is you can do it. You're not stupid. If you're watching this channel, and I'm not trying to big up myself, I'm above average intelligence. It doesn't matter my IQ. Alvin be talking smack, but I ain't gonna do it. But some of you watching are above average intelligence. You figured it out that, yeah, I can't make it off one income. I might need some investments. How do I get there? And so I respect people who watch this channel enough to go, you're thinking of how to grow, how to get better. And so that's just very important. So those are those ones. So again, number one was, if you're going to travel or someday you might die, don't have your family having to GoFundMe. That's crazy. Clean your credit, work on your credit so your family can be able to afford stuff. Number 2, build businesses, but I'm a 2-ladder kind of lady. Build it on the side or go full time. We just got to realize once you start getting in a 9-to-5 culture, you got to realize sometimes you start buying cars, you start buying houses, you start buying things off of that income, and the fear of leaving gets bigger and bigger every year you're there. So that's why you see so many people in bigger pockets who are 23, 25, and they just went straight for the investments. They didn't even go to get a 9-to-5. Number 3, scared money don't make no money. Seek experience, not the reward. Number 4, invest in what you know. If you know trailer parks, I'm not being smart ass, but if you know trailer parks or like an empty land, like you put 3 or 4 trailers, do that and go hard in it. Same with eBay, Amazon. If you know those things, make them as big as possible, but make sure you put the money Put some money away. Invest the money. Number 5, deadlines are your friend. If you don't have a deadline, it's just a dream. If you're saying tomorrow or someday or maybe 6 months from now, like, I want you to get out a sheet of paper and say, what are you exactly doing 6 months from now? What are you doing 7 months from now? What are you doing, 10 months from now, a year from now, 5 years? Because sometimes I hear people say, well, I want to go overseas and travel. Well, girl, the prices of tickets have been low for years lately. They've been like $300, $400. Pick it and go. You want to go on a cruise? It's down payment plans. There's opportunity. Number 6, track and report to yourself. Journal, productivity calendars. I tell every one of y'all, if you call me for a consult, I'm gonna ask you what's on your calendar. I'm not even joking. I have 2 calendars, a little one I can carry with me and a big one that stays at the office, and I can write money coming into the business every day, stuff going out. It has notes on pages. You gotta be able to do that. All right, so I'm gonna read the last ones and I gotta go. So thank you guys for coming out today. Again, if you want credit repair, if you want consultation, if you want any of those things, those links are always below. Check below. I can put them in the comments. Chris Morris, yeah, you want to be the middleman. Listen, literally the class is called Middleman to Millions. One's for real estate and one's for business. Good looking out there, Chris. And Singleton, I invest in what you know. I now will have podcasts on the site using my military experience as a consultant. Thanks, Erica. Listen, there's a lot of military guys who have had interesting careers and can write a book on it. That's why I put living as an author out, because there's 2 military guys that actually help their speakers, and I've actually helped write an outline for their books. And I'm like, there's some kid who's like 18 and debating whether they should go in the military and travel the world and do all this stuff. So you got a story there. Okay, so Sherry Douglas is Mr. Clayton Moore's business office. Mr. Business Clayton Moore. I don't know what you mean, Sherry. But Clayton Morris is morrisinvest.com. I think that's how you say it. And just speak with buying property and sorry. Okay. Anyway, you guys, I'm gonna go roll out. I'm putting the links right here in the comments. Everybody who's bought credit repair this week, I'm very proud of you. We're gonna get there. Good talking to you. Keep on top of it. Credit is not just a temporary thing, it's a lifetime thing. And there's a lot of people working jobs. There's a lot of people who the difference of them losing their apartment, losing their car, losing their house was a little credit card or a $10,000 credit card. So don't overlook credit. There's a lot of people working and living in places they didn't want to live in because they didn't have credit. Same thing I talked about earlier in the video about Lisa Phillips' brother. Nephew. $250. Mom couldn't afford it. Like, you would think she'd at least have a credit card. D-bloke. That's an interesting concept. I'm not gonna fight with you on that. Physical property investment is great, but requires a large cash up front. So D-bloke, if it's a $50,000 house, 20% is $10,000 down. Again, $10,000, you can save $27 a day for a year. Let's say you drive Uber every day, and you just let that money go into a separate account that you don't touch. You drive every day for 2 hours, $27 a day for a year. By August 12th of next year, you'll have $10,000. Like, and again, D-bloke, the thing about living long, if you live long enough, if you already have a house and every 2-3 years you refinance, that's your $20,000 to $30,000 down payment. And another thing, when people talk about large payments up front, most people walk around with $15,000 credit cards in their pocket, 2 and 3 and 4 of them, and have them maxed out on junk, vacations and junk, when they could have bought a rental. So it's all about how you look at it. Even if you have cash to afford out-of-state rental properties, you cannot trust turnkey companies. I don't know, where'd you get that experience from? Have you worked with an untrustworthy turnkey company, D-bloke? Please respond if you worked with a untrustworthy turnkey company, because I actually know 3 people personally who are hardworking people who they buy the property for 30, put 20 in, and only sell it for 60, 70. They're not like yanking anybody off. They're not ripping anybody off. So I know you're in Florida, so I don't know if you've experienced something bad in Florida, but if you've worked with a turnkey company, please respond. Alvin Hollinger, have a awesome happy hour. Alvin, I know you be selling cars and partying out there in Houston. My Raisins 1, thank you for everything. I appreciate it. Your hair is beautiful. Man, some days it is, some days it needs some work. You guys, I get so many hateful comments on the channel like, you need to brush your hair today. I'm like, dang, it's a lot. Lala D, hey Erica, what do you think about hard money loans to flip a house? Hey, that high interest rate, they used to be better. They used to only have let you have 6 months. Now they kind of turn it where it's a year or 2 years, but you just need to have 3 strategies. I much rather people go work on getting business lines of credit from the bank, and actually building their business up via having some partnerships with not just one bank, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 banks. Because at the end of the day, even if you're in a hard money loan, you should have 3 ways to get out of it. 1, selling it. 2, rent to own to someone. 3, rent it out, right? And let's say you're stuck with it. You need to rent it out. Well, you need to be able to refinance it. So at the end of the day, you still need to have decent enough credit and some cash flow to be able to do so. So yeah, hard money loans work. I would never want to be stuck on one for a year. 15% interest. That's their going rate right now, 11 to 15%. You can pay it, but you're not gonna make much profit. Like, let's just say you're holding the note for 6 months while you fix the house, and you're paying $1,000. Let's say $1,000 a month. Yeah, that adds up. You got to have it in your business plan. Anyway, all right. Well, I don't see anything from D-Bloke, so I don't know where. I don't know. I think turnkey companies are a great investment on this channel because they do a lot of upfront work. People who are working a full 9-to-5 job, and let's be honest, some of you with careers, you're working 50 hours a week. To think you're going to get up every Saturday and work on this flip house you bought, that's not true. You're not going to do it. And even if like Amanda Young, I'm going to see if I can get her back on the channel again. She's a nurse. She's on her 6th rental house in Tampa, Florida. She just is a nurse, and she puts a little bit of money away, and she and these are Tampa area, so some of these are 50, 60, 70, and guess what? There's retirees that move south and move in them and rent them for like $1,000 something a month. Same thing goes, she's finally doing her first flip, but the key here is she's a nurse. At least 3-4 times a week she's going to be working these 12-hour shifts, and then to go to a property and make sure your plumber did what he said he's going to do, and make sure the guy who did the roof did what he do, and the wall. I mean, the average person is not are not gonna be able to do. They're just not gonna be able to spend that much time on it. So, okay, hold on. Let me see here. D-Bloke, I was going to use a turnkey company in Ohio, but it seems it has been overcharged clients by $10K on extra on property value. So D-Bloke, again, do your due diligence. If you've Googled, if you Zillow, if you use the tax assessor office of that county, and that property, they're charging you $10,000 extra. Why are they charging it? Was it in the repairs, was it in the value? There are thousands of turnkey companies all over the whole United States. A lot of the smaller property management offices, example, Memphis Invest, they've been around for 30 years. They're quality people. They've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of reviews. People work with them for 20+ years. They're great companies who they started out as property management offices. And then they started as like, hey, we've come into extra properties. Do we just keep them for ourselves, or do we make a little bit of money basically flipping them and managing for people? Because 9 times out of 10 on average, let's be really honest, on average, you're only coming up with 14 to 18 grand. That's the average person investing in turnkey properties. They're coming up with anywhere from 9,000 to, I think, 18,000. But like, let's say there was one in Atlanta. I'm trying to think what their name is. They were in Atlanta, but basically the average person was buying a property and their down payment and closing costs was anywhere from 14,000 to 18,000. So, just depends. And again, like I said, a lot of people have $15,000 credit cards and they're using them for what? Vacations and party? That's a waste. But yeah, D-Bloke, just look over some other different turnkey companies closer to you, because you're in Florida. So there's some in Jacksonville, there's some in Orlando in your backyard. You can go personally visit people. Go check out ones in Georgia and South Carolina. That's all on I-95. You can hit that I-95. Sherry Douglas, I need help advertising my website. Oh. Ooh. Oh, okay. I don't see it on here, so just send it. Just pick up a consult. My Raisins 1, do you know any reliable turnkeys near to NYC? Again, Billwood Properties. They're in Hagerstown, Maryland. There's some in New Jersey, but New Jersey, honestly, is completely overpriced right now. I mean, everybody I've ever run into is so overpriced. I can't even in good faith go, yeah, check out these people in New Jersey, because it's so overpriced. It's like everybody's escaping. Not far, but just enough where they can afford. So if you look at some of the commercial, like New Jersey has a lot of like commercial on the bottom, residential on top. They're so overpriced. They're so overpriced. And if you live near New York, they're overpriced. Okay. They're overpriced. But I would check out Ohio. I would check out Maryland. I'd check out build properties in Maryland. I'd check out people on the edges. I wouldn't look right in the NYC. Like I know Newberry's up north, but a lot of people are like, when I talk to them from New York, they're like, nobody's moving up that way. Well, that's some of your choices. So CN, I save into Acorns. It adds up quick. It really does. I mean, it is something. It really does. Lala D, do you know any good real estate investment groups in DFW? Lala, you're in the home of DFW. That's where all the investment groups are. I'll just say I'm with the Brad Sumrock group, and we're apartment investing, so that's a whole nother level. But there is a ton. Like, just honestly go on Facebook and even Google, or just even go on Bigger Pockets. There's a ton. Like Memphis Invest is there. I can't even like rattle all the ones off. But like you saw, I did a video with Tim Jackson. I did a video. I'm supposed to do a video soon with Scotty Smith. But there are a lot of great people moving and shaking. The key to that is like the RIA groups, REIA. If you Google RIA groups at meetups or meetups.com, real estate, you got to be moving. Like people don't invest with people who aren't doing anything. So if you're like, hey, I'm pre-qualified, I'm ready to go, like you'll meet people who are ready to partner and do things. So D-Bloke, if you know any reputable turnkey companies, let me know. D-Bloke, I have a list, couple of different lists for my clients, but overall, like you can Google all day, man. I mean, it's really thousands of them. D-Bloke, I'll keep checking. My reasons. One, I agree. I'm looking in New Jersey to buy now. Okay, I'll try the one in Maryland. Check with you later for the others. Clayton Morris has a turnkey company in Ohio. Yes, he does. Clayton Morris is who I tell you to get. Just give me the call. Go ahead and call him. Get it feedback over the phone because they're flipping about 15 a month right now. Last time I called, and they're going with the price range of 40,000 to 50,000. And then they're selling them. I mean, the rentals are like $675, $700 a month. So you're talking about some certain towns in New Jersey, in Indiana. So Indiana and Ohio. Kevin Smith, I'm thinking of moving to Dallas for work purposes. Hey, there's a lot of people moving to Dallas. You have Plano, Irving, Denton, everywhere. I mean, it's exhausting how many places. And to give you an example, Atlanta, the city of Atlanta could fit inside of just South Dallas. So when people say I'm moving somewhere for work, I'm like, make sure you get on a good side of town. But you guys, I really, it's actually Freedom Friday, and Freedom Friday is Fish Friday, New Friend Friday. We make a joke about it. But I'm going to wrap this up. Sorry, it's taking so long. So Clayton Morris is pushing for cash or hard money lender buyers. He does it. Yeah, I've already said that, D-Bloke. He works with cash investors. I mean, that's just 40,000, 50,000. If you're a retiree or you're somebody with an IRA and you want to pull it out, like you can do that. There's a reason. I mean, they just move faster. They don't have 30 days to wait on somebody's financing to come in. If you're flipping 15 a month, you can be choosy. Just the truth of it. So, all right, everybody, this is Erica, Classy Climb Blog. Listen, if you need credit repair, if you need consulting, if you have deep questions that I can't answer in the short span of this video, hit the links below. You guys, this is Erica, Classy Climb Friday, Freedom Friday. This will be turned into a blog article. Check over the blog at classysel.com. You guys have been great. Make sure, you know, all these comments disappear after this closes out. So go ahead and hit the like button or hit the share button so that people can see this afterwards. Later, you guys.